Leading Daly by an increased gap now of 5.6 seconds. Regalia's dropped 1.1 seconds back. But then Jeloli Koyas, and this battle between Kvyat and Dino Zamparelli for 6th place. And Zamparelli getting a great run once again in this second sector.
And this is what we see so many times in feeder series. The guy in front of Dino Zamparelli won the race yesterday at a canter. Now he's in the midfield, he's fighting for position, and all of a sudden he's just swallowed by the pack. So many times when a guy gets out in front, gets confidence, as we see Sims doing right now, some 5.6 seconds ahead of the field. They get confidence and they just take off. I'm not quite sure why that is. It seems to be a first factor, doesn't it? These guys just appear to find something when they're out in the lead of these races.
That first lap really was so important for Alexander Sims. Whoa, Fiat gets very loose and sideways over those wet curbs. He's really pushing to hold Zamparelli behind him now as they run up through Blanchimont. Zamparelli may have a run on him into the bus stop as Vichoyu gets a run on Williamson. Under braking, can Vichoyu make a move? We wait back for them. Yes, Vichoyu up the inside. Lovely stuff from the race winner.
And I'd love to see how he managed to claim the inside there, because Williamson looked like he was not going to give that up easily.
3 laps left to run here in Spa. It's not over yet. Daly is now 5.8 seconds back from Sims in 2nd place, so Alexander doing everything right, but these battles are still raging. Kvyat having to do everything to keep Zamparelli behind. And Vichoyu making that move on Lewis Williamson, but Lewis Williamson has had a good run through Eau Rouge. He's back in that slipstream and coming down the Kemmel Straight as Kvyat tries to break the toe from Zamparelli as well. Williamson behind Vichoyu, but for how long? Lovely. Oh, on the wet part of the track, Vichoyu very, very good under braking.
Yeah, ballsy stuff. I almost certainly didn't know that was going to stop when he hit the brake pedal. So many of you'd be surprised how many times that happened.
Hit and hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you press the brakes and you know there's runoff there. You hope it's going to stop, and if it does, you've got a place, and if it doesn't, you haven't.
Yeah. Other than possibly in the barrier.
That's true, but these guys can run a little bit deep. You pick your moments on the track, and if it's something important, for example, the last point, you're prepared to take a risk, and you know that, funnily enough, there are no points for 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah. If you don't make that 8th place, it doesn't really matter where you finish, so you might as well have a go.
Absolutely. Here is our race leader. We haven't seen much of him today because he's been so far ahead of the field, but Sims is driving an absolute beauty here today. Great stuff from Alexander Sims. Not challenged, and look, it's just the confidence in that car. It's so together for him.
Yeah, driving fantastically well at the front of the field, and with the genuine pace as he sets the fastest lap of the race, as if to illustrate his dominance. And he's been very calm all weekend, really getting on well with the Carlin team. Knows them well, of course, from when he drove with them in F3. So yeah, a really good merge between team and driver there at this event.
Niederhauser now taking it to Williamson, who has dropped back from that battle with Vichoyu. I wonder if Williamson made a mistake at some point. His final sector was about 8/10 off where it needed to be. That's seen him fall way back from Vichoyu, who at this time last lap he was attempting to pass. Now he's got to try and defend from Niederhauser, who has had a run through Eau Rouge. It might not be close enough, but is certainly feeling the effects of that toe coming down the Kemmel Straight. Is he close enough? Is he close enough? Niederhauser's great in these conditions and just flies up the inside of Lewis Williamson.
Yeah, stunning move yet again. We see these guys managing to tow up behind each other in these conditions, which is surprising, to be honest, considering what the drivers have been saying to me about the difficulty in towing. They're also complaining a lot about a very long 6th gear, where they find that they put the car up into 6th and just go nowhere. Here's that move again, and yet that inside of the track drying up a little bit now, leading to opportunities for more overtaking into Les Combes, which is a classic overtaking place here at Spa.
Jack Harvey, disappointing weekend for him. 2 retirements, having gone so many races without a single retirement. Really, really disappointing for Jack. And there is the man, of course, that he made contact with yesterday, Carlos Sainz. No real feeling between the two of them, but going back to that Niederhauser move, these are the conditions that Niederhauser traditionally excels in. A wet drying track, Niederhauser is practically unstoppable in these kind of conditions. He's just a phenomenon to be able to find the grip where there is none. Patrick is one of the very best in GP3 at doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Throughout last year was very good at that, as well as he has a sniff at the back of Carlos Sainz. And looks like he's going to get that move. No, he's going to present his car to the outside of Sainz, and I suggest that it's going to be status quo as they exit the bus stop. Maybe a man might be able to have a go down into La Source, or perhaps try to cut back on the way up to Eau Rouge.
1 lap to go, and Fontana is having a good old go at Carlos Sainz into La Source, going for the up and under to get the run down the hill on the Spaniard, who has dropped back over the last few laps, potentially tyre woes coming in at the end of this 13-lap race. They've been full chat side by side into Eau Rouge. Oh, and Sainz has to take avoiding action and run over the curbing as Fontana really forced that issue. Wheel to wheel through Eau Rouge, those two guys, and a wonderful move ultimately by Fontana, who pressed the issue on Sainz and now has to move to defend into Les Combes. Wonderful start from Fontana.
Yeah, really is defending very robustly, and I didn't think Sainz needed to perhaps do that side by side through Eau Rouge. Sometimes, like we saw Kvyat do earlier on in the weekends, we see a big lock-up from Gomez,
and
with
she got another
puncture.
flat.
Yeah.
And it's rear left again.
Rear left puncture.
So that's two rear left punctures for Samim Gomez. Here we go, here's the replay.
Here we go. Yeah, and sometimes if you kind of he's managed to get it done purely because the track is wet on the outside of Eau Rouge, so perhaps a smart move. Sometimes, as we saw Kvyat do earlier on in the race, it's better to...
Oh, that's... is that Yeloli and Koyas fighting for 4th place? Both out. As Alexander Sims is into the final few corners, the points change on the very last lap. Alexander Sims, super sub, comes around the final corner and will take the victory for Carlin. A wonderful race from Alexander Sims, who is saluted not just by Carlin but also the Status boys for whom he raced in the past. Connor Daly comes home in 2nd. Regalia is 3rd. Behind them, no, it wasn't Yeloli and Koyas, because they come back 4th and 5th. Ah, so that would have been Vainho and Sasilva. So Koyas and Yeloli come home 5th and 4th. Kvyat ultimately holding off Zamparelli to take 6th and 7th, with Vichoyu in the final points-paying position in 8th. And this is Aro Vainho. Oh, just up the inside and not his corner.
Yeah, it's not really an overtaking place. Sometimes you can get up the inside there if someone's very slow, they have a problem, but he was always going to migrate towards the apex there, driving into a closing gap.
So it is Alexander Sims who takes the race win on his return, his 2nd return to the GP3 series, with Daly and Regalia 2nd and 3rd. It's another podium for Regalia, and with Elinas not scoring, that means the championship lead will be increased once more. This is becoming Regalia's season. The man who is managed by Adrian Campos, who of course introduced a certain Fernando Alonso to the world of motorsport. He knows a good driver when he finds one, and is overseeing the progression and the career of this very talented young Argentine.
Yes, a stunning race for Regalia, and a stunning race for this man. Was never challenged from the start, made an excellent start away from the line, and really good to see him back in top-level single-seater racing and doing an excellent job.
Isn't it just? And the British fans, who of course drive over from the UK to see the action here at Spa, is a big favourite for British fans. They had a race winner yesterday in GP2 with Sam Bird, a race winner this morning in GP3 with Alexander Sims, and they will be delighted. And the support for Sims will, I'm sure, be raucous on the podium. But it is difficult, isn't it? I mean, for someone like Alexander, who's been racing GTs, to just turn up and jump it. Well, it should be difficult. Apparently, it's quite easy.
Incredibly difficult, and that makes it all the more impressive. You know, the muscle memory that you need to drive one of these things. And guys are subconsciously learning all year. You know, every time you go out on the track, and you don't get that much time on track in GP3, you're learning so much. So for a guy to come in, do 2 races and put in the results that Alex Sims has managed to put in is a fantastic achievement. It
really is quite astonishing. And you know, a podium that first weekend in Germany, a win here in Spa, it's really quite astonishingly impressive from him. More points, as we were saying, for Regalia. Elinas has got to be hanging his head. Elinas' season's going the same way as Coletti in GP2, isn't it? So impressive at the start, you know, starting the year off with a win. Mega consistency, always in the points or on the podium. Then Hungary, no points here. Stalled on the grid yesterday under that massive pressure. Today, nothing he could have done at turn 1, but when the luck leaves you, it leaves you.
Well, I do remember saying in qualifying, I could see the pressure in Elinas's eyes when I went to go and talk to him about the race weekend earlier on Friday, and yeah, I sensed that pressure in him. Although in this race, I think he was just plain unlucky. You know, so difficult when you're leading a series like that. You have to be hard-nosed, you have to be aggressive, but what can you do? You can't jump out of the way every time somebody throws a car up the inside, but you have to protect your points lead. Such a difficult compromise to strike. As we see Alex Sims get out of the car, very low-key celebrations from Alex Sims considering his achievement, saying...
just steps out like, yeah.
Receiving well done from Jerry Convey there, who trained Paul di Resta.
Alex
and me.
And you? Yeah. He's almost sort of got out and gone, yeah, I've won more of it. What of it? Yeah, of it. Average morning.
I'm sure the Carlin boys will be down there very shortly to add a bit of group mentality to that celebration.
That is one chilled out cat. Wonderful stuff from Alexander Sims.
Good to see these guys shaking each other's hands, which, to be honest, they didn't really see too much of him. Trevor Carlin there congratulating Alex Sims in Chile, standing in the background, looking like he knew it was going to happen all along.
And Connor going to congratulate Regalia, who, with 2 third places this weekend, has taken the championship lead and extended it again today. And again, you know, it's so wonderful seeing somebody take those third places and be so delighted with it. He knows how important every point is. There's Juan from Fox Sports, who I always thought looked like the Ultimate Warrior from WWF. You've put the face paint on him. Dead ringer for the Ultimate Warrior. Anyway, the race results, Alexander Sims from Daly and Regalia, Yaloli Koyas Kvyat. I've done so well pronouncing it and I ruined it. Kvyat. Zamparelli, Vishoyu, Niederhauser and Williamson. That's the top 10. Alex, I'm leaving it with you because I've got to run up to the podium, mate.
No worries. And as Will heads up to the podium and get a chance to reflect on the race. Well, great race again in GP3. Another team rising to the front with Carlin taking the win. Arden and ART have been pretty dominant throughout this weekend, dominating very much in qualifying and then in the first race, but it's great to see Carlin rising again to the front of the field. Well, plenty of action again in GP3, a fair few shunts, and it's interesting to see, you know, difficulty in driving standards again in this race, with some reasonably rash moves being made throughout the field. And I think, you know, sometimes penalties were dished out after race 1, but often, you know, these guys, there's so much at stake for them and they can't be blamed for being aggressive in their racing to try and achieve their dream of becoming F1 drivers in the future. Better racing this weekend than we've seen lately, to be honest, in GP3. A lot of drivers complaining that they're not able to get up behind their competitors and tow up behind them and deliver a passing move. But that work with Kimi Räikkönen obviously paying off for these guys. Let's hear what Alex Sims has to say.
I jumped 2 rows. Yeah. Who crashed into him?